Let's be honest, when you hear the term AI, you're probably thinking about chatbots, right? Or maybe those wild image generators, but there's a quiet revolution happening right now, behind the scenes, in the industries that literally power our world. We're talking energy, manufacturing, the heavy hitters. Today, we're going to pull back that curtain and look at industrial AI. This is the smart engine that's making everything safer, faster, and way more efficient. So let's jump right in.
And this question right here, this is really the heart of it all. How can a machine spot a tiny crack that even an expert might miss? How can it help manage the thousands of miles of energy pipelines that are basically the arteries of our entire economy? We're going to dig into two really cool examples that answer exactly that.
All right, here's our game plan. First, we'll nail down what industrial AI even is. Then, we'll see it in action, first in something called non-destructive testing, and then in those energy pipelines. After that, we'll look at the bottom line benefits, the money and safety side, and we'll wrap up by looking at what the future of this human plus AI partnership looks like.
Okay, first things first. What exactly is industrial AI? It's a term that gets thrown around a lot, but it's super important to understand that it's a totally different beast from the AI that most of us use every day.
So, at its core, industrial AI is all about making physical things and processes smarter. You're taking massive amounts of data from sensors and machines, and you're using AI to optimize and automate things in the real world. And while the name industrial AI sounds brand new, the core idea, using data to make industry better, has actually been around for a long, long time. This is just the supercharged next-generation version.
Now, this is where it gets really clear. We're all getting familiar with generative AI, right? Things like ChatGPT that create text or images. That's all about making new content. Industrial AI, it has a totally different job. Its goal isn't to write a poem for you. Its goal is to predict when a giant piece of machinery is about to fail, or to perfectly optimize the flow of oil through a massive pipeline. It's all about real-world action and efficiency. Okay, let's get into our first real-world example, because this is where it starts to get really cool. We're talking about non-destructive testing, or NDT. Basically, it's the critical job of inspecting vital components without, destroying them in the process.
So here's the problem they face. Think about the aerospace industry. They use things like X-rays to find tiny microscopic cracks in parts that absolutely cannot fail. But imagine being the person who has to stare at thousands of these complex images, day in and day out, looking for a needle in a haystack. It's exhausting, it's difficult, and even the very best expert can get tired and miss something. The stakes are incredibly high.
And this slide just perfectly shows the evolution. We started with someone literally just looking at an X-ray. Then we got smarter and built software to help the human eye by adding filters and stuff. But step 3, that is the absolute game changer: automated defect recognition. The AI scans the image, it automatically flags anything that looks suspicious, and then it hands it over to the human expert for the final say. It's a huge leap forward in both speed and accuracy.
Now for our second example, which is just as massive and just as critical, managing the enormous network of oil and gas pipelines that literally keep our lights on and our cars running.
Try to put yourself in the shoes of a control room operator. You are responsible for monitoring pressure, flow rates, and temperatures across thousands of miles of pipeline, all at the same time. The mental load is just immense, and you have to make critical decisions in a split second. It's an incredibly high-stakes, high-stress job.
So how does AI step in to help? Well, it's not just one thing, it's a whole toolkit. It can predict when a pump needs maintenance before it breaks down. It's constantly optimizing the flow in real time to make it more efficient. It even helps automate all the boring back-office stuff like scheduling. It's basically the ultimate assistant for these operators.
Okay, so this all sounds really impressive, but what does it actually mean for the business? Why are companies pouring so much money into this? Well, it really boils down to 3 huge benefits.
First up, and it's a big one, cost. Remember that predictive maintenance we talked about? Well, that lets companies schedule repairs when it's convenient, instead of having a sudden catastrophic failure. Unplanned shutdowns are an absolute nightmare, costing a fortune. This approach saves a ton of money and makes those multi-million-dollar assets last a lot longer.
Second, it's not just about saving money, it's about making more of it. Using AI for real-time optimization, sometimes called closed-loop automation, lets companies run their assets at the maximum safe limit for more of the time.
Just squeezing out a few extra percentage points of efficiency from a pipeline can mean millions and millions of dollars in new revenue.
And third, and you could argue this is the most important one, safety. A smoother operation is a safer operation. And AI can make thousands of tiny adjustments to pipeline pressure every minute, way more than a human ever could. This reduces the wear and tear on the equipment over time, which means the whole system is more robust, more reliable, and ultimately, much safer.
So this just sums it all up, right? You reduce your costs because you have smarter maintenance. You grow your revenue because you're running more efficiently, and you enhance safety because the whole operation is smoother. It's a trifecta of benefits that totally changes the game.
So, this brings us to the big question, probably the most important one. What does all of this mean for the people working in these industries? Is AI here to take their jobs? The answer, and this is crucial, is a clear and resounding no.
I absolutely love this quote. It nails the relationship perfectly. Think about an airline pilot. They are still 100% in command of that plane, but the autopilot handles the routine, tedious stuff. That frees up the pilot to focus on the big picture, on strategy, on safety. That's exactly what industrial AI is, a co-pilot for the human operator. So the whole point is to take the human operator out of the weeds. Stop making them do the thousands of tiny manual adjustments. Free up their brain power so they can focus on what humans do best: strategic thinking, handling unexpected emergencies, and making those big, complex decisions. It elevates their job. It doesn't eliminate it. Of course, getting there isn't exactly a walk in the park. There are real challenges. A lot of these industrial sites are running on ancient software that doesn't talk to anything else. Getting all the data hooked up securely is a huge project. And then you have the people problem, the great shift change, where a whole generation of experts is starting to retire.
But here's the really fascinating twist. AI can actually help solve that last problem. You can design these systems to learn from the best, most experienced human operators. It can literally capture their decades of knowledge and decision-making logic, creating an expert system. It's like a digital mentor that can help train the next generation of workers, making sure all that valuable experience doesn't just walk out the door.
And that really is the question to leave you with. This shift to industrial AI isn't just about technology, it's about people. It points to a future where our most important industries aren't just automated, they're augmented. So the real challenge, and the biggest opportunity, is figuring out how we prepare our workforce not just to use these new tools, but to thrive right alongside their new brilliant co-pilots.